In August 2020, bolts of lightning sparked a massive wildfire in California. Named the August Complex, the fire burned through 7 counties in the northern part of the state. Over 1 million acres were destroyed, along with 935 structures. On top of that, 1 person was killed. This made it the most devastating wildfire in California history. This is part of a string of wildfires that have occurred in the state over the last few years. Due to climate change, things only seem to be getting worse. Welcome back to Curiosity, and today we're going to be talking about whether humans will be going extinct from climate change. Will flooding intensify? Will fires get worse? What is the runaway greenhouse effect? We're talking about all this and more, so stay tuned. First off, what exactly is climate change? Perhaps one of the main issues with the climate debate is that many of us still don't know what climate change means. Heck, I didn't know the full definition until a moment ago. Just to be clear, climate change refers to the shifts in temperatures and weather patterns that take place over a long-term period. While shifts in the climate are only natural with our solar cycle, human activities have been the main cause since the 1800s. Fossil fuel burning has been particularly bad since it increases the levels of greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. So how exactly does climate change differ from global warming? This is where a lot of people get confused. Well, global warming refers to the long-term heating of the Earth's surface. They are brought on by the same activity. So how much of a threat is climate change really? The big debate among scientists and politicians is whether or not climate change is an actual threat to our planet. The current consensus among scientists is that the Earth's temperature has warmed up significantly over the last century, and that humans are the primary cause. The more greenhouse gases we emit into the atmosphere, the worse it will get. Around 97% of people in the scientific community agree with this theory. So what does climate change mean for the world? One of the biggest discussions in the climate change debate is the effect it will have on our planet. The truth is that climate change is affecting the Earth in a few different ways, each with their own devastating impact. Climate change means that storms will become more intense. I'm not necessarily talking about massive tidal waves crashing through the cities like in the movie The Day After Tomorrow. But hurricane season will be much more violent and have a terrifying impact on our coastlines. Climate change can make hurricanes so much more powerful. Experts think the climate is likely to increase more hurricanes to categories 4 and 5. The hurricanes can also get wetter, increasing precipitation by 10 to 15%. Take a look at Hurricane Fiona this past year. It was dubbed the strongest recorded hurricane in Canadian history, as well as one of the wettest. But it's not just hurricanes that are getting worse. Remember the crazy wildfire from a minute ago? It's not the only one. Wildfires in general have increased over the last few years. Due to the rising temperatures, droughts have made our environment a lot thirstier. There's just not enough water in certain regions to withstand a fire. As a result, when the area does catch fire, it's more likely to spread. The dry seasons in areas like California are lasting longer, making areas, both rural and urban, more vulnerable to deadly wildfires. But it's not only California that's at risk. Who remembers the Black Summer bushfires from a few years back? These were the bushfires that burned through Australia back in 2019. While bushfires are common in Australia, the fires that took place from June 2019 to May 2020 were particularly intense. They spread across several regions, affecting up to 3 billion animals and killing up to 479 people. On top of that, the fires burned through 84 million acres of land, claiming 3,500 homes. It's important to mention that Australia has technically suffered larger fires in the past, but experts have gone out of their way to emphasize the role climate change played in Black Summer. While it's certainly not the sole reason for the fires, it definitely contributed. There are also floods to consider. Throughout the last 10 years, climate change has definitely contributed to floods. As the temperature goes up and ocean levels rise, flooding is going to get worse. And I'm not just talking about coastal regions. Floods are increasing inland as well. As the weather gets worse and the sea levels rise, floodplains are expected to rise in the United States by 45%. Currently, over 41 million Americans are vulnerable to flooding along rivers, streams, and other bodies of water. The thing is, the United States is a developed country with an infrastructure that can currently support areas suffering natural disasters. What about countries that are underdeveloped? There are countless places throughout the world that have gone through floods just within the last few years. Just take a look at the recent floods in Pakistan in 2022, which killed 1,500 people and displaced 30 million more. Of course, these floods began with torrential monsoon rains, but scientists believe climate change is what made them so damaging. It was named the deadliest flood in Pakistan since 2010 and the deadliest in the world since the South Asian floods of 2020. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend we're all going to be underwater in the next few years. That doesn't look to be the case. While the amount of moderate floods are decreasing, the amount of extreme ones are only increasing. So with all this said, here's the big question. Can climate change lead to our extinction? Given how things are going, it's easy to believe that humanity is heading in the wrong direction. Here's the reality. If climate change is not kept under control, it will be a threat to our way of life, but mass extinction is highly unlikely. With that said, many areas around the world would become uninhabitable. Studies have shown that if we keep going the way we're going, by 2050, areas like the Persian Gulf, South Asia, and the Red Sea may become too hot to live in. This can create a refugee crisis as people will need to find a new place to move. When it comes to floods, look no further than Miami, Florida, which has a major risk of flooding within the next 30 years. This will displace millions of people, forcing them to move inland and increase population density. So under what scenario could society collapse? One of the most likely scenarios that could be brought on by climate change is a food shortage. If the climate cannot allow food to grow, fewer people will be able to get food. With society unable to eat, you will eventually witness a collapse of infrastructure. Take a look at all the places affected by flooding and high temperatures. Millions of people will be unable to eat if severe weather stops food production. Of course, these are all possibilities, but there is one theory linked to climate change that could directly lead to human extinction. Let's talk about the runaway greenhouse effect. Remember I mentioned greenhouse gases a moment ago? Releasing greenhouse gases through fossil fuels is directly linked to climate change. When greenhouse gases like methane and carbon dioxide are thrown into the atmosphere, they trap heat from the sun, causing global temperatures to rise and the climate to change much quicker. The worse this gets, it theoretically could lead to something called the runaway greenhouse effect. According to experts, this effect would kick in if the planet started absorbing more heat than it loses. Over time, the bodies of water will begin to evaporate, the entire oceans disappearing. With no more water to support the population, humans will begin to die. Keep in mind, this scenario is not exactly plausible when it comes to climate change on Earth. It's not possible for our planet to have the level of carbon dioxide needed for the runaway greenhouse effect to take place. The world can be a scary place. If we don't take care of it, bad things will happen. Here to learn more? Let's keep your curiosity going with a couple more videos, shall we? Here's what you need to know. Check out the river in Canada that disappeared in just 4 days. Or how about learning how to survive a nuclear attack? Go ahead, click one, or better yet, watch both, and learn more about some of the realities of living on Earth. Is climate change something you're worried about? Let us know in the comments below.